Welcome to the Critical Ears podcast, where we interview audio industry professionals. Today's episode is special. Our guest is someone who has found his niche in theater sound. He currently works at an arts center, which has a performance venue. He also helps with the audio for many shows outside of that, some driving even 60 miles one way. We're going to be talking about networking, education, and careers. If you aren't sure about your path as an audio engineer, maybe you're looking for different opportunities, or you feel stuck without any options, this one's for you. Let's meet Max. Max, how are you?
Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate it. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to talk about what you do. Especially, I think our listeners are going to have a blast listening to you. So let's jump right into it. Talk to me about your career, where you're at now. What do you do currently?
So right now I am a theater technician at the John Michael Kohler Art Center in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, which for those many of you who probably don't know where Sheboygan is, it's about an hour north of Milwaukee, about an hour north of Green Bay, right along hour south of Green Bay, right along Lake Michigan.
Okay.
And we are simultaneously an art museum and a performance space. We do live events throughout the summer. We are part of the 11 Amp concert series, and we get artists from all around the world to come headline our free summer concerts across the street from our art center.
Wow.
We host a lot of things like dance residencies or very large scale technical residencies with a lot of interactive lights and sound. We do a lot of stuff with, we have an in-house preschool. We do a lot of stuff with them where we animate their drawings and stuff, and we basically put on these performances at the end of the school year for the parents. And basically, just a little bit of everything. Sometimes we have an opera singer in one of our exhibits, and sometimes we have a huge concert.
Interesting. That's cool. So you run the audio for the art exhibits and for the performances across the street.
Correct.
Kind of same company.
Sometimes the lighting and the video and whatever else is needed.
You're the all-in-one.
We're a two-man wrecking crew here. So.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah. How did you get into that? Like, did you just come across the job on like Google Jobs or?
This particular one, kind of.
Okay.
So I'm not from Wisconsin. I'm actually originally from Pennsylvania, where I was doing a lot of live events production and theater. And my events production job laid me off because they couldn't keep paying their audio engineers. So, no harm, no foul, but it meant I needed to find something new. And I actually found in a theater up in the big tourist destination, Door County, Wisconsin, for a summer, basically doing their A1 position for the indoor theater that they have. And I took that job.
Let me ask you a quick question. I've heard that term A1 position, and I assume it just means audio one, but what exactly does that mean?
Correct. So structure kind of depends on where you are, but the A1 or the audio one is the front of house person who's basically, they're the one who's providing the mix you're hearing. Okay. You can have an A2 that could be someone backstage running monitors. It could be someone with you on headset, firing sound cues if it's a theater production. It could be someone setting up microphones backstage for theater. And then you could have an A2 on monitors and an A3 on deck, or an A3 doing patching and an A4 on deck. And it can just go depending on how big the production is. You'll usually... Okay. At least in my experience, have one A1, but you can have any number of everything else depending on how things are set up.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Sorry. Carry on.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Good clarification. Thank you.
Yes. So I took that summer job because they provided housing and everything, because it's not fully a summer stock theater. It has a bit of a different dynamic where it doesn't just feel like you're always doing stuff constantly. You get into this rhythm of these certain shows and do it the whole summer. But I took this job under the impression, I'll figure something out, whether it's in Wisconsin, whether it's somewhere else completely new. And I stumbled upon this job, interviewed for it, got it starting right after my summer job was done, and
Wow.
haven't looked back. It just kind of that fell into place, and starting to work with some local theaters doing sound design. And, I'm actually, in addition to being at the art center, I am also the sound department chair for Sheboygan Theater Company, which is a longstanding community theater in Sheboygan. Basically doing the sound design for all the shows, or delegating others if we have other interested parties, and basically getting my little theater fix when I don't necessarily do that as much at work on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
But it's one of those things where things just kind of fell into place, and I happened to look at the right place at the right time and keep finding these things.
Interesting. That's so cool. I'm curious how, what other, you said you worked on theater stuff in the past as well, right?
Correct.
What kind of theater stuff were you working on then?
Sure. So, I have a degree in theater with a focus in sound design from the University of Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, PA. And, but I didn't start that way, actually. I kind of was just doing little things on the side, like they do a 24-hour musical and like other kinds of random little things. Okay. I was actually there for computer engineering. And I got to a point where I was doing so much theater so consistently that they asked me to do a main stage production. And I sat back thinking, why am I not just doing this? And I switched. Halfway through junior year, I drop engineering and I pick up theater and knock out a whole major in 2 years.
Wow, yeah.
And of course, graduated in December of 2019, which you can imagine what happened a few months later.
Oh, yeah.
So it
no
made
more theater for you.
A little bit. Yeah.
Man.
The first day of rehearsals for the first show I was going to do outside of school got canceled because it was mid-March. First rehearsal was canceled, and that show got pushed back a year and a half. But I was doing some little odds and ends, doing some design for a couple local theaters in Pittsburgh. And then throughout the summer, we actually put on some summer theater, outdoors, drive-in style, using their parking lot, because they had an outdoor stage with a parking lot that kind of wrapped around it.
Yeah.
So we got to do a little bit of actual theater with the kids. And,
nice.
That's the height of the pandemic. So it presented a lot of challenges along a major road with motorcycles ripping it up and down the road.
Okay.
But, it gave us something to keep it going. And then as things start opening up, I, would pick up more. There's 2 high schools I worked with very consistently. I did, I believe, 6 productions with one of them, doing one a year, and then 3 with the other.
Nice.
And just kind of kept doing that. And then once I moved out here and I started finding those other theaters, it just lent itself to picking up another show. I actually just opened a show, lighting designing, down in the suburbs of Milwaukee this past weekend. I opened a show this coming weekend up in Green Bay as a sound designer. And I open another show at the beginning of May right here in my little town.
How do you manage all 3 of these at the same time?
It's
my goodness.
Part of it is the workload. Some of these sound design shows, they don't necessarily pay great. They're community theater. You do it because you like doing it, and you maybe make a couple bucks. So some of them are as easy as I've recorded some sounds. I go find some stuff. I build them. I show up, get it running, and then I'm hands off. They have someone who runs it. And then other times it's a whole production where I'm designing everything. I'm setting up the pit. I'm mixing everything. And it just kind of, 2 of these shows were very straightforward. The third one is the one I'm mixing, and it's a large scale production with 31 microphones and another 12-piece pit and sound effects.
Goodness.
So that one will be, it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So it's a pretty lavish show.
Okay.
But sometimes it gets a little hectic because that doesn't include the full-time job. I have a dance residency that we're setting up for while I'm in tech for 2 of these shows. So sometimes it gets crazy and you find someone to fill in for you, or you see how you can finagle a schedule around. But, if you love it, you'll find a way.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. So you're just taking on, I feel like that's kind of the case with a lot of audio engineers and sound designers nowadays, is it's just, you get 2-3 jobs at a time. And if you're really trying to make money at it, you kind of have to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's because you'll have a lot of times where, especially if you don't have a full-time job on top of it, you need to be constantly doing and finding. I don't feel like I personally am at a point with the theater end of things where I could just do that all the time. I need that something that's a little more grounded, which this theater tech position is great because it's in what I want to do, but lets me play with the other stuff as well. And my boss is great about working around whatever we can. Where last year I went back home to Pittsburgh to work 2 separate shows, and we just changed things, or not changed things around, but changed up who was doing what so that I could be gone that week and we could have someone run whatever we had.
Yeah. That's nice to have a flexible job that, pays the bills, and then you can add on stuff on top of that. That's really nice.
Exactly.
So I feel like I have that personally right now. I mean, I work at Utah Podcast Studio, and it pays the bills, which is very nice. And then I can do stuff on top of that. So I have a couple side gigs, and, it's I feel like it's a lot of networking and just saying yes to everything that you can, which is kind of funny because one of our past guests, his name's Thomas, he's my brother. He actually said to not say yes to everything, only say yes when you're getting paid. What are your thoughts on that?
So, yes and no. Overall, yes. It does depend on commitment as to how much you get paid. But for example, this lighting design show, I mean, I'm getting the guy who's running it's giving me a little bit of cash to cover all the gas because it's 60 miles each way for me, and I went down about 20 times. So,
man. Yeah, that's crazy.
So, like covering a little bit, but I wasn't even expecting that. In this case, it's a brand new theater company where we're all starting right off the ground. The director is put all his own money into this, and we only make money if he actually gets his money back. So it's like literally starting from the ground up. But I loved the concept. I loved what he wanted to do, and he's bringing theater to a place that really wanted theater, but there wasn't anything structured. It's just one of those little every suburb around them has stuff going on, and this little pocket just didn't have anything. So it's bringing something new that has been really successful so far, and there's been a lot of hype behind it. And so, that's one that, again, I didn't think I was getting anything for it. I was doing it because I felt like this would be a good thing to get in on and start working on and make an impact, and then down the line, make some cash off of it.
Right. Well, if you make a good enough impression, then you can hypothetically, you'll make those good impressions. You'll meet the people that are gonna want to hire you in the future and be willing to pay once they're making that money.
Exactly. And the way I see it early on, you might have to take some of those ones that I don't want to say to take them if they don't pay, because you need experience, but you need to pay your bills. Yeah. But it's where it makes sense to ease in on starting to pick up some of these types of things that will give you a little bit of pocket change, a little bit of an extra something, but lets you actually do your work and show off what you can do. Because like you said with networking, it's the fact that I got my last 2 jobs not through networking shocked me, because I got every other job I've ever done through knowing somebody, because you just have to know somebody. It's I almost call it a requirement, because you have to you have to get along with people. People have to want you. Right. And if they work on one show with you and it went great, someone else will be asking them, hey, I need a sound designer. Oh, I know this guy, and they'll recommend you. Yeah. And that's how I keep picking up these theaters that way, where I work with one person and they work with a lot of people. So when they see people asking, they start throwing names out, and that's just how it works. Yeah. You have to almost get a foothold in an area in that sense. Yeah. Yeah. You have to be like well known in your specific like county almost. In your area. Yeah. I just it was like a month ago that I had my brother on the podcast, and then shortly after that, he told me, he's like, hey, there's an open position at Lagoon. It's our local amusement park. And he does the audio for Lagoon, doing their live shows that they do. Sure. And he was like, hey, there's an open position if you want it. And I was like, heck yeah, I want it. I ended up looking at the job and talking with them. I wasn't
it wasn't going to work out with the time commitment and the money
Sure.
that they were paying. Unfortunately, just it was a really big time commitment, and so sometimes we run into those situations too, where you might want to take a job, but you can't necessarily because of your current circumstances. Have you ever run into that?
Right. So, kind of. I run into some positions where a show gets offered to me and I either logistically just can't make it work. For example, those schools I worked for back in Pittsburgh, they're going to keep asking me every year if I want to come back for the week because I can make it a little vacation and I could also work this show. But with my job, it's just unlikely that I can, take full weeks away knowing I only have so much PTO. I need to be able to go home for a week and a half for Christmas at the end of the year because that's 18 hours away. Like I need to, I need to be able to save where I can. And I can't always, sometimes I'll look at my work schedule and see, oh, they want me to work this show, but we have a major residency in where I know I'm going to be working late that whole week. So, you say no, but when you say no in those instances, I've always found that you will almost always get asked again the next time they need help because even just having the conversation with them, you can say no, but if you had a good conversation with them and you made an impression where you clearly have the desire to do it, they'll keep throwing things your way. Eventually something will work out. That's what I always say is people will ask me if I can work a gig and I can't. And I will tell them, keep asking me if I can come help out because one of these days that no will be a yes.
Yeah.
And so
that's a great point. Just the persistence. And if you make a good enough first impression, then they're, regardless of whether or not you say no, they're going to want to hire you back, it sounds like.
Exactly.
So I love that. Kind of switching topics here. Are you married, dating?
I'm dating about a year and a half, local.
Okay.
She actually moved to Wisconsin around the same time I did, but we didn't know each other at that point.
Well, okay.
But yeah, we don't live together yet fully. But she lives relatively local. It's only about an hour and a half drive, which around here, we're Midwesterners. An hour and a half is okay. Yeah, that's an easy drive.
Yeah.
We'll drive. Okay. We'll drive across the country before we fly.
Yeah. Well, the reason I ask if you're dating is because I know that at least in my scenario, I'm married and taking audio jobs 90% of the time they're at night and they're a completely opposite schedule from my wife, and so it's like it takes away time spending with her, and I'm curious how you navigate that. I mean, you have to drive an hour and a half just to see her. That's crazy. So how do you navigate audio work and dating life?
Sure. So for us, it's honestly been pretty easy because I'm the type where I'm always go, go, go. I'm always doing stuff. I'm the one planning everything we want to do, where she's always down to join me, but I'm the one who's coming up with the stuff because she will just as happily sit around. Yeah. And so, sometimes there'll be a week or two where, I'm so busy that the only time she'll see me is if she comes here and she spends the weekend or anything like that. And that happens. I actually structured my calendar. I use Google Calendar for everything, and I structured it in such a way where I share everything with her so she can see where I'm going to be and what stuff I'm working on, so that we can both kind of take a look, and she'll be like, because she can work partially remotely, so she can come out for a couple days.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's cool.
And so she can look and say, oh, I'll come out this weekend. I know you're going to be busy, but, we can still share a bed together at the end of the night. I'll come home. She'll still be awake. It's, I'm fortunate with what I do. I'm very rarely working super, super late. I'll have maybe a dozen events throughout the span of an entire year that go past like 11 p.m.
Okay.
All the theater stuff's usually done well before then. A lot of our stuff is like when we'll have a residency, and there'll be one night where we're getting out 11:30 midnight, and that's it. Wow. The rest of them are at least more reasonable.
Okay.
So
and in the theater industry as well, in the theater industry as well? You're out not too late?
For the ones I'm working with, yeah, I've noticed that kind of a shift from when I was in college doing theater, where especially since the pandemic, there's just been this things have been changing structure a bit to be more based around, we can get the work done. We don't need to overwork ourselves to death to make this happen. We don't need 10 of 12s. We don't need 10, 12 plus hour days for a week on end to make something happen. You know, like we can structure it where we, you know, maybe we start rehearsals slightly earlier. Maybe we just reconfigure how we're running through tech. Maybe we just decide we don't need all that. The Sheboygan Theater Company, their tech is one weekend, and it is usually 11 to about 6 on Saturday and Sunday, and then dress rehearsals throughout the week. And a lot of places, until you get into, I'm sure when you're like off Broadway or you're working with the big repertory theaters, it changes a little bit. But especially in mid-range community theaters and kind of all these different types of summer theaters, they're taking a lot more consideration into making sure that the people who are working with them, who are doing it because they love it, not because it's their main career every second of the day, they want to make sure they keep loving it and that everyone's... Yeah, we want to put out something good, and that requires everyone being happy too. Right.
Yeah, well, that's nice that they respect you for that. I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't feel respected in their jobs. So
yeah, I feel fortunate about that because I hear the stories. You know, I know it's. I mean, I've had shows where I start working on them. I see how things are run, and early on, I back out of it because, you know, if that's how they're going to run their space, I don't necessarily care what happens. If it's in a place where I know I've built this network, odds are the people that I've built this network with feel the same about these places. And there's a reason I haven't run into these people at those places. I run into them where I've run into them. So I've never shied away from seeing a gig that's not run well or is, you know, taking advantage or mistreating people and saying, someone else can do this. You can find someone else who will take this because I won't. It's not worth my time or my money.
Yeah. Have you done that quite a bit where you've had to like
No, actually. I've actually only had 2 shows that I've backed out of. One of them, you know, I'm not in the business of slandering theater, so it's not like I'm going to mention names. Anyone who knows me probably knows them, but that's beside the point. One theater sort of wanted me to take on a teaching the students role, which is fine, but there was no structure behind it. And there was no way to sort of control anything. There was no, like, I showed up not knowing what any day was going to be, and I'm the designer. And it felt a lot more like I was a teacher than a designer because the teacher still had final say of the sounds, despite the fact that she's hiring in a professional. And just a lot of weird stuff. They're pretty low budget, which I can't knock them for, but you know, they tend to go hand in hand with some of these things.
Yeah.
And it was just all around. And there was some unprofessional stuff as far as I had to call out sick, and the response was what I see as unacceptable. Where, you know, you can't get angry at somebody for getting sick, you know.
Right.
It happens. So
yeah.
I would never get mad at somebody for having to call off because they're sick. I might get frustrated that I have to change how I'm dealing with something, but that's entirely different than taking it out on the person who is sick and wanted to be there.
Yeah.
So that's the only time I've truly dropped a show after I've been like in the process of it. But I did have another where I was in talks on working on a show with this theater company, and then, you know, allegations start coming out about the person running it that are not good allegations. And I am very quick when I hear that type of thing, and I hear it especially from people I trust. But if a whole cast backs out of a show, there's probably merit behind it. So I saw that, and I said, yeah, there was a whole article about this one. So people who really want to search in Wisconsin can probably find that one.
Okay.
I don't know the details. I didn't pry for details, but I know enough and have heard enough from the right people to say, I'm done talking about working on this show with you. And I just backed out of it.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I can't say I have, there's times where I say, oh, this is the only show I'm going to do with you guys. I say that to myself, obviously, but you'll have that show where you're like, this was not a great experience. We got there, but I'm going to turn down anything in the future. But
Yeah.
it's very rare that I actually back out.
Interesting. Okay. So there are some times where it's good to say no, and there are times when you cannot go back. That's it.
Absolutely.
I feel like
it's trust your instinct, because
yeah.
If you have little things here and there that add up, that's one thing. But if you have something big or some major piece of the puzzle is just not working, then you're within every right to say, you know what, for my own sake or for anyone's sake, I'm not doing this. You can find someone else.
Yeah. I feel like that's a good message for anybody who's thinking about or who is in the audio industry, is like, definitely say yes to a lot of things, but also take care of yourself emotionally.
Exactly.
And mentally.
And
I like
I don't care how much you love it. It should not be every second of every day. It can be sometimes, but you gotta have your hobbies. You gotta have your relaxation time. You gotta go out and do something. Step outside for a bit. Do anything.
Yeah. Just in our last episode with Deborah Fotheringham, she's a recording artist, and she was talking about her experience working in the studio with a recording engineer, and she said that people would order food for lunch, and they wanted to eat it in the studio so they could get the most out of their time. But the recording engineer, he's like, no, I am leaving the studio. Like, I got to get out and reset my brain a little bit. Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's good to take care of yourself and your needs.
And to, there's always a right way to put your foot down, but put your foot down, be open to change, be adaptable, be ready to, basically do anything, but also be ready to say no.
Right.
And be ready to know the right way to do it for the situation.
Yeah, that's good. So kind of switching topics here, why don't you walk us through a typical day in your sound designer, right?
Sure.
What's a typical day as a sound designer?
Sure. So I guess, do you want me to go, are you talking just like a regular day going in, or are you talking what my normal process is?
Yeah, kind of. I'm going to leave that up to your discretion. However you want to answer that.
Sure. So I'm going to answer it as I'm going to sort of go through how I design a show, because any day could include any part of this.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
Any day includes looking at the script and finding your sounds and making sure you know what you need, where you need it, and also taking the care to look through and decide where you want to add things, where you want to, take your creative liberties, because you should always be doing that. Whether any of it sticks, you should always be wondering, can I put a soundscape here? Can I add some music under this, depending on if that is appropriate or not? What can I do that adds to the show?
Are you talking like sound effects? Are you talking extra music? What are we talking here?
All of it, really. Sound effects, extra music. It could be, if you're setting up your pit, it could be how effects you put on a vocal. I'll give actually a good example. I worked on the show Alice by Heart, which is a play on Alice in Wonderland, but set in between Wonderland and 1940s Blitzkrieg. So it's a really interesting concept. Okay. But there's a character that's meant to kind of be this otherworldly type character called the Jabberwock. And it's supposed to have this bizarre sounding voice. So we we download our Waves package. We find a really cool vocoder that makes things makes it sound like this muffled, garbly, like almost marbles in your mouth kind of voice, and put it over just this character as they're singing, where nothing mentions this in the script. But it's one of those things where if you add it tastefully, you add a whole new level to what you're working on. It could be for any number of things. You could have, I guess a good example is putting overdrive on something. If you want someone to sound like they're talking into, here's another great example. I worked on The Play That Goes Wrong, which is a play about a play that goes wrong. It's a hilarious show.
It's great.
The sound guy is a character in the show. And there's times where you need him to be speaking his lines, and there's times where you need him to sound like he's talking over the PA or over his radio. So having an effect that you can, I mapped it as two separate inputs where you have mic input 1 is his clean mic. Mic input 2 has overdrive and distortion and crazy compression on it, and it sounds like he's talking into a radio.
Yeah.
And so, playing with all those little things, panning things, putting practical speakers in place so that you can make it sound like things are directional or coming from a specific spot. And like throughout the day, you're thinking of all of these things, and as well as how you're going to run them, how they're going to work, if they're going to sound good. It could sound great on paper, and then you try it and there's just no good way to get what you're going for with what you have. And, you think about all these things up until you're walking out the door, because you think about how you might want to try it later. Or you think about how what went well, what didn't. But in the midst of all of that, especially in a live theater setting, you're going down and then you're setting up microphones, and you're helping, in a lot of cases, you're helping the actors get in the microphones and teaching them how to use them properly and how to treat them so they don't get damaged, and telling them to not take it off themselves because they might damage it.
Right.
And, then going through with your sound check, making sure, usually for me, in many cases, after the first couple, it's more of a making sure things work, because you can hear for a couple seconds and be like, yep, sounds like it should. I won't say that that's the greatest practice overall, but in a lot of the theater I'm doing, it works fine. And, I can, you adapt that when you need to, because you don't want to take 30 minutes of everyone's time before a show to do a thorough mic check when you don't need to.
Right.
And then, it's running the show. It's equal parts making sure everyone else enjoys it and enjoying it yourself. Like, The Play That Goes Wrong is another great example. I'm mixing. I get to a point halfway through the run, I'm not even looking at my script. I'm just going, and I'm watching the show almost more than I'm watching what I'm doing. Right. Because I don't, you sometimes hit a point where you just don't need to. Yeah. It becomes such... I've worked shows where it's 3 microphones, and I ran the show for a month and a half. I'm sitting there like there's only a couple entrances and exits. I just have my hands on the faders, and I'm just pulling them up and down as I need to. I'm not firing the sound cues. The stage manager was. So it was, it just kind of, sometimes you're fully in it the whole time and you can't really fully sit back. But I mean, half of the enjoying it is knowing you're doing something really cool and knowing that you're doing a good job with it. So, and then, you pack it all away and you do it again the next day. And really that's every part of the process, I feel like, tracks throughout the day, whether, obviously early in tech, some things are more important than others, but at the end of the day, all of those pieces add together, and you're always doing all of those things, whether you know it or not. Yeah.
It sounds like fun, though. It sounds like a lot of fun.
It really is.
I haven't done a whole lot with theater. The only one I did a little bit of stage crew in middle school, and I did not understand the concept. And then nowadays it's totally different. I helped out with the audio at a community theater, and it was Secret Garden. And I showed up, and believe it or not, because I'd been to a couple semesters of school by this point, I kind of have a good idea of what I'm doing audio-wise. I'm not like, I'm not a professional. I've still got a lot to learn. But I showed up, and the guy who's running the audio, I was expecting to just shadow, just watch. and I started talking about, like, asking him questions about the audio, and he's like, you go to school for this? And I'm like, yeah, I go to school for this. He's like, you're probably going to know more than me. I don't know that much. I'm just, like, the director's my sister, you know? And I was like, man, I didn't realize that community theater was, I knew it was community theater, but I mean, he'd done other shows, so it wasn't like bad, but I showed up and I started messing with the faders. He let me just control the board, and I thought it was a blast. I had a lot of fun.
That was honestly how I learned best, was just messing with things. You know, like, I'm early on doing a lot of the live events and live music. The person I was freelancing for, we'd get partway through the show and he would tell me, all right, here you go. And I would ask what this does. And he's like, well, try it. So, you know, I'm wondering, okay, if I change this with the compression, what's it doing? And I'll start listening to see what it's doing. And, you know, like, when I'm learning to EQ, he would be like, there's no shame in cranking a little frequency the whole way up and scrubbing across so you hear what it's doing. Yeah. So that you find the spots where it rings more than others, you know?
Right.
So, like, yeah, there was, like, it's almost, in my opinion, the best way to learn. At least for me, it was. Yeah. Where, you know, you can know everything on paper, and the moment you try to do it, unless your ears are tuned for it and your ears are tuned for what you're doing. Yeah. You might think, oh, if I turn this up, it'll do this, but then it doesn't because you didn't consider this. Yeah. So, like, you might think, oh, it's quiet, I need to turn gain up, but that might change something where you're like, no, you actually should have adjusted the gain on your compressor so that when it hits this point, it gains it up a little bit. And, you know, like, it's not just knowing the book. It's you need to be book smart. You need to be street smart with audio as well, because you can't have one without the other. In my opinion, you have to learn in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, but you also don't learn without doing. Yeah, that's what I've noticed at school is they'll give us all this knowledge, and then there's so many projects. Like, it's not a I guess I do take quizzes, but it's not really a, like, take this big exam. It's here's your final project, you know, and every single time that I'm in class and I'm mixing, it's like there's time in class to mix and get the teacher's feedback. And I actually, that's how you know it's structured well. Yeah. So I had one of my professors during one of my intro classes. He's like, get used to criticism, because good criticism is what's going to teach you. You have to do things. You have to try things, like you were saying, and then you have to just ask people who know about it to see if it sounds good, you know? And if you think it sounds good, then you can ask someone and get ready to be shot down, you know? Sure. And one thing that actually helps me a lot early on, record things and listen back. You know, like, because you're listening to so many different things in the moment, but you can't focus on any, you know, you can't go back and re-listen and hear things you didn't hear the first time unless you record it and you sit back and you listen and you hear, the drums really sound like that snare sounded really tinny. And then think about what made it sound like that, what you could have done differently. Or in some cases, you do get someone hits their snare, and no matter what you do, you just can't get that boom out of it with anything you're doing. Yeah. And, you know, like, even think about, especially if you do this in a recording setting, because I can't say I've done much mixing and mastering, but I've done a lot of multi-track recording for events, just for record keeping mostly. But I'll listen back and just mess around and realize, I have the vocals channel up. I'm hearing more snare than I'm hearing vocals. And it makes you think, how could I change this next time? What could I do to, you know, adapt? Yeah. And if I have a vocalist right in front of the drummer and I have to crank up the vocalist to hear them, what can I do to minimize what else it's picking up? Whether it's a different type of microphone, a different placement, shifting things around, a drum shield if that's an option, you know, any number of things. Man, that's so good. This is like so many good things coming out of this conversation right now. I love it. Glad.
Okay, so I want to revisit the career aspect of this. You've talked about how you have this steady job at the art center and theater, and then you also take the side gigs. Before you had that steady job, were you like just doing freelance work, or did you have another steady job before that?
So obviously out of college was interesting because of the whole pandemic thing.
Oh, right. 'Cause COVID.
So
That's right.
in Pennsylvania, liquor stores are state run. So they're state jobs. And
Okay.
I was working there part-time still right out of college. And,
Okay.
with the pandemic, we closed for a bit, but then we opened back up. And it was like, oh, wow, there's steady work. It pays pretty good. So I was like, until I find something and things open up, I'm just going to keep doing this. So I did that for a couple years, just becoming assistant manager at this store and then bouncing to be assistant manager at this bigger store and so on until I got a job doing live events production. And then did that for, just shy of 2 years. And, but it sort of came, that actually, going back to networking, came at least partially from the recommendation of my mentor, who knew the person hiring me really well. And it was sort of my, I was upfront on, here's what I know, here's what I want to learn. I would love this opportunity. And it just kind of worked out that way. But at least as far as I've been out of college, there's been something consistent.
Okay.
And thankfully for the last little over 4 years now, it's been consistently within my field.
Yeah. So there's going to be a time where you might have to take a not audio related full-time job.
Absolutely.
And then do stuff outside of that.
If something doesn't present itself in front of you, then sometimes you got to find something that can sustain you until something either presents itself or you find it.
Yeah.
So it's, did I love doing it? Not really. It made nice for collecting whiskey. That became a whole thing. But it's as far as getting further in audio, getting further into doing theater and all that stuff, it kept the bills paid until I found something. So it was obviously helpful. It just, it might not be helpful in the way I want it to be, but it helped me get there by making sure I got there.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in doing whatever you need to do, whatever job, working your 9 to 5, working retail on top of, whatever you need to do, because, arts are only supported so much. You can only find so many different types of jobs that you can just take one job and it'll work.
Right.
So
do you feel like employers who are looking at a resume or a portfolio or whatever, do you think they kind of understand that you may have like a completely random, not audio related job, but you've done all this other stuff, side gigs?
Absolutely. So especially when you're first getting into it, it's a lot more like, the resume helps, but it's a lot about you demonstrating, it's the conversation. If they think you know what you're talking about, you have the right answers to their questions, you're the right fit, they like you, it doesn't really matter what's on that resume. And because in this type of field and in the arts in general, networking is so important, the piece of paper with a college on it isn't as important. It can help you starting out and it helps give you that foundation. Yeah. But you don't need that. You don't need to have a crazy padded resume to get your first full-time job, but you need to go out and find those things that can help get you there and help you demonstrate the knowledge. Yeah. When I got this full-time job, I had when I got the first full-time job, I had a handful of freelance things and some theater and a theater degree. Like my main job was retail at a liquor store, but they look at much more than that. And in this field, anyone that means anything is going to look at much more than just that. And they're going to have the conversation with you and find out what you know and how you work and what you want to get from it. Because just as much as it's about doing this job, it's also about improving so that you could do their job one day, or you could go off and do this, that, the other thing and build your career. And a lot of places I find, at least to varying degrees, do care about that. It's just making sure you find the right ones. And, don't say, it goes back to, don't always have to say yes. Don't say yes to the first one if there's red flags, There'll be another gig out there. There'll be another full-time thing. You don't have to, you can shoot for the stars. It doesn't mean you have to hit them, but you also don't have to crash land on your way there. You can find that thing that gets you into the right direction.
I love that. What would you tell the just starting out newbie who has no experience with audio? He knows a little bit, but wants his first audio job, whatever it is. What would you tell him?
I would tell him to look everywhere, ask everyone, apply to everything. And if you love it, just relentlessly go after it. Again, it goes back to everything else, to keep yourself, keep your health, keep all that stuff and paying the bills and all that in mind.
Yeah.
But if it's something you want to do, you're going to naturally have that drive to go do it. And you can apply to 50 things. 49 of them will say no, but when that 51st, whoever says yes, then it made all of those other ones worth it. Because even just working through that, you figure out if they're asking you questions and you don't know the answers, and then someone else interviews you and they ask you something similar, you know what you should start looking at to get in that direction. And even just talking with these people, even if they say no every time for the first 50 times you try to find something, you're still getting something out of that and figuring out what you need to get a yes from that next one.
Yeah.
So I'd say just to go for it, because you won't get there if you don't.
Yeah.
It's low risk, high reward is how I see it.
Yeah. I like to ask anyone and everyone, because just the other day I was at an event and I was feeling really, really awkward. I'm an introvert at heart. And so I was feeling really awkward because I wanted to go talk to the audio guy, but I didn't want to be that guy that went up and talked to the audio guy. And I went and asked the stage manager guy that was running the whole thing. I was like, "Hey, can I talk to the audio guy for a minute?" And he's like, "Yeah, go up and talk to him." And he's like, and I'm like, "Okay." So I went up and we had a great conversation. So it's just taking that step to, break past the level of uncomfortable. At least for me, it was really uncomfortable at the start, but then it was great.
And it might be, but it's one of those things where the only person who's even going to think about it after that is you. You know, I would much rather think, man, that was an awkward conversation versus, man, I wish I had this conversation, because who knows what could come out of it. Yeah.
And I mean, this guy that I was talking to, I was like chatting with him and I was like, "Are you on like a team? Is it just you? Or are you hired through this specific company?" And we were chatting and he's like, "Well, hey, if I have any, we're always in need of like stagehands and people to help out." And I'm like, "Sign me up." And I got his phone number. And so
that's how I've gotten more than one thing. You talk to someone who, even if, if you have mutual friends with someone that you work with that works in audio as well, add them on Facebook, reach out. If you see them working a show, be like, "Hey, I've heard of you through blah, blah, blah." And then you'll always start some kind of conversation, unless they're crazy busy, but you'll usually know.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you.
Absolutely.
We're going to move on to the, I call it the reaction portion. It's not really a reaction, but I've got, there's like one or two questions in there. It's my problems. It's the listeners' problems. It's Audio Reddit's problems.
Okay.
All combined into this one section where we're asking the professional. The first thing I want to ask, though, is what's the biggest audio mishap or mistake that you've seen personally, that you've experienced?
I could tell you it's so we were doing a show outside of a public ice rink in the middle of winter where we basically had a tent set up with our sound and lights. It wasn't a crazy setup, but we're doing this big outdoor thing. And then the windstorm comes through. The tent's destroyed. The soundboard falls over. The lighting board falls over. Nothing's damaged beyond the tent, but things are like scattered everywhere. Your setup's destroyed. You know, we've got a show in 4 hours. We have to make it happen somehow. And, you know, we got lucky where the van that we brought the gear on has a sliding side door. So we set up command one, where we basically set up the tables in there. The lighting person could see and could cue me as sound. And we ran the show that way. And, you know, it got us there. But, you know, that if you want to talk about a mishap, I'd say your setup blowing away is probably up there.
Oh, man.
It was
not heard of that.
Quite a call
before.
to the boss.
Man, that's crazy. Even all the heavy equipment and stuff, huh?
I mean, we were in between skyscrapers where when it gets windy, and we had probably 60-mile-an-hour gusts come through, and it just took everything it could. It didn't take the soundboard, but it took the table it was on and used it like a sail and just flipped everything. So,
man,
it doesn't matter how heavy it was. If wind catches it right, it's gonna go. It went.
Oh man,
that's always
crazy.
top of my mind. It doesn't get much more chaotic than that.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for the wind now in the future.
Especially out west. I know you sometimes can get it out there. So
yeah, a little bit. We're having a problem with my garage door right now. Like the door that leads into the garage. It just won't. It'll, you know, because I'm in a detached garage apartment, and so it just won't stay closed because the wind's always beating at it. It's kind of annoying, but okay. So I've got a comment here from someone. Says, okay, I'm 19 right now. For the most part of the last few years, I've been dead set on becoming a sound engineer. I love music, and I've always been curious about what goes on behind the scenes. Ever since I saw a mixer, I wanted to know how it all worked. But recently, I've been feeling demotivated about pursuing this full time. Everywhere I look, it's people saying stay away from the industry or keep it as a passion while doing a day job. Adding to that, my family has been trying to talk me out of this decision as well. Is it really unwise to pursue this career in, this says 2025, but 2026? Would it be better to study something else that gives me a stable income while pursuing this on the side? Would I still have the passion or even time to learn it while having another job? Too many questions lingering on. Please give me advice on what step I should take.
So, as someone who went to school for something completely different and sort of kind of did the opposite, where I was so far away from doing this live audio engineering and then kind of went into it, you know, you're always going to have people who, especially within the field, it's, you know, there's the stereotype, the older sound guy that's just always bitter, grumpy, you know, is just like tired of it. Well, they weren't like that at one point. They weren't like that early on. And it's, you know, I can't say it's the person I can't say it's that person's fault, but if you have that passion, if I'm in that position, you just go for it. You know, it's at the end of the day, yes, listen to other people's opinions, but it's also your life to do what you enjoy. And, you know, no one's going to know the right answer. So the way I see it is you almost have to go with what you feel you should do. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You try something else. You find out that, you know, yeah, this isn't all it's cracked up to be. Or you find out, no, I'm so glad I did this. But you don't know until you do it.
Yeah.
And by the same token, you'll never know if you don't do it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was fortunate where when I told my dad, hey, I'm thinking of switching into theater from computer engineering at this very expensive public school I'll be paying back for the rest of my life. His response was, if it's what you want to do, absolutely go for it. will support you. It's like the only piece of advice he gave beyond that was to make sure that I'm informed. Make sure you know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
If you love the idea of it, you look at it, weigh the options. If that deters you, then yeah, maybe you should do something else, because the way I see theater, especially this is the theater mindset talking. Mm-hmm. If you don't love it, it shouldn't be your full-time job. If you don't, if you want to make your life theater, you have to love theater, because if you don't, you're not going to love it. It's going to burn you out. That's how you get people like that who are trying to discourage you because of the industry, which is changing so rapidly. And, the environments are changing so rapidly that I take any opinion like that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But, you shouldn't sit there and blow off everyone's opinion on it. But at the end of the day, you're the one who can inform yourself on it. You're the one who's making the decision, and it's your life that you're making a decision for. So you can acknowledge these things, but still decide to pursue it. And if you look at all of those things and you still decide to pursue it, you're going to be successful. You're going to will it into existence, because if you have someone who's motivated to do it, you will find your place in it.
Yeah. And people will see the motivation. If you're motivated,
exactly.
they're going to see it.
Exactly. And that, someone who's motivated in it, they're going to know by talking to you. They're going to pick you over someone who might know more but doesn't seem like they want to do it. There's so many factors where it's the attitude is really what makes all of it, because nothing else matters if people don't want to work with you. And you can go anywhere if you're willing to learn it. So it's, if you're persistent and you are wanting to go into it, do it. There's the only one stopping you at the end of the day is you.
Right.
For better or worse. I'm not saying that could be a good or a bad thing, but
yeah,
at the end of the day, again, you have to make sure you're happy with your choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can always change your mind.
Exactly.
There's no pressure.
We have lives to live.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, if you fall down, you get up, you find something new. You look for that new passion. You find, or yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Last question for you. And this is kind of my question, but a lot of other people's questions too, is what's your thoughts on the way AI is taking over everything, but specifically in the audio industry? What's your thoughts on AI in the audio industry?
Put it bluntly, I want no part of it anywhere near anything I do, because it can be helpful. I see where it can have uses, and anything artistic does not fall under that umbrella. And of all people to ask, you're asking me in a very interesting place, because I live right near the town that just issued just passed the first law requiring all future data centers to go to a popular vote before they can be approved. The town of Port Washington, Wisconsin, they have one that started being built, and there's been so much pushback and new regulations being put in as far as how they're doing their work. And now they even just put into law that anything within the county has to be approved by the people of the county. And we're in a hotbed because there's so much fresh water. We're right along Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
We're an ideal place for people to want to do this. And the whole state of Wisconsin keeps shooting these things down. And, but the way I see it, as far as the actual use of it, is it's never going to do exactly what you want it to do. If we're ignoring any of the environmental or ethical impacts, it'll never do what you want. The only, there are instances where, sure, it could help you. It could give you an idea. But at the end of the day, anything that involves any sort of creative decision is all you. And in audio, in the studio, it's definitely a bit more of a thing. And as far as effects go, but once you get into live stuff, as far as live stuff goes, there's just, it has no way to compete.
Yeah.
It's all you, and using it will not help you get better. Using it is a crutch, and it's just not, you can only get so far.
Yeah.
And if you're relying on something else to do any part of the work for you, that's part of the work that you're not getting better at. And that's something that you're not having creative input over. You're not making a decision. You're not doing any of it.
Yeah.
And so ignoring all of the, in my opinion, more important ethical things about it, it's just not useful. It just doesn't get you where you want to go.
Man, yeah, good point. I think people need that human touch, and the more you can give it to them, the more people are going to love it.
Exactly. Because, if we all rely on AI to do that, everything's going to sound the same. Everything's going to, it'll be boring. That's really the way I see that is. Yeah, the human touch is what really makes things interesting. I don't listen to an album and think, oh, this is produced to a good level. I will listen and be like, oh, that was an interesting, like they pick an interesting guitar tone. They pick an interesting layering, or an interesting how they EQ something. Especially I notice with drums a lot that you're not going to replicate that any other way than doing it. And you might make something that sounds pretty good. You're not going to make something that wows people. And you're not going to make something that actually improves upon the art instead of just letting it show. Yeah.
Man, I agree. And thank you. This has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for joining. Will you tell the audience where we can find you? Facebook, Instagram, website, anything like that?
On basically all socials, I am that one sound person, and it is exactly written as it sounds. And that goes for Instagram. I think you can find me that way on Facebook, Twitch, probably other places. Can also, I don't actually know, I don't have my own domain, so I don't know my website offhand, but I also go as 412 Sound Design, back when I thought I was going to stay in Pittsburgh forever. But I'm a little too into that to change that now. But I can be found there as well, although I'm most active on that one sound person. Otherwise, if you come to a show, you'll find me. If you come to a show in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, it's probably
go
me.
Say hi. Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, if I'm ever in Wisconsin, I'll be sure to find you and hit you up. But yeah, thanks so much.
Beautiful out here.
Oh, I'm sure. Thanks so much for coming on. And
absolutely.
For those watching, be sure to give us a like, subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. And let us know, comment any sort of problems or issues or scenarios that you want a professional to talk to. Be sure to leave that in the comments below, and I will ask a professional for you. And thank you for watching the Critical Ears podcast.